In our journey towards self-sufficiency, these are 5 things we no longer buy. For us, this is a sustainability checklist. This is looking at what we need as a family, what we are able to produce as a family, and then in the future, we get to take a look and say, well, here's what we can add to this list. To be able to say self-sustainability, you are that much closer. Step by step, we get there because we can cross off another item from our checklist so that we can move that much farther from the grocery store. Guten Yardening, everybody. You know, I think the term self-sufficiency is a pretty broad topic, but you have to start somewhere on that journey if you're going to reach that end goal. And so today I'm going to talk about 5 things that we no longer need to buy from the store, and I think these are difference makers. First and foremost, we've got our leafy greens. We have not bought a leafy green from the store for nearly 2 years. That's right, for nearly 2 years we haven't had to buy any spinach, kale, lettuce, etc. because we grow enough of our own. Now, one of the things we've suggested in previous videos is that you take a look at your receipts and try to determine which of your vegetables are the ones that are high demand for your family, which ones would save you the most money because you buy them the most often. And for us, kale and spinach were right there at the top. Now, there are a couple of reasons why we need so many of those vegetables. One, for the kale, I know that's not everybody's favorite, but it is a nutrient-packed vegetable, and we make a lot of green smoothies, and so that takes the place of buying kale from the store. Have you seen the cost of organic kale or organic spinach these days? The stuff that's supposed to be fresh and that's half the time wilted, it's not good. It is not good. But by raising our own spinach and kale, we no longer have to spend that extra money. And, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can say about these. 1, spinach is one of the most nutrient-dense vegetables out there, especially when it's picked fresh. 2, it grows really quickly. So you can have spinach, fresh spinach, within 30 to 35 days of planting, and that means that even if you have a season that's, say, 100 to 115 days long, you could potentially get 3 or 4 different crops out of that season. The other thing is that both of these vegetables allow us to collect seeds from them, which means we don't have to buy any seeds in the future either. And so we're able to bring in a couple of those vegetables that we really had to spend quite a bit of money on in the past, and we no longer have to do that. In fact, I was just thinking about this last night as I was preparing some of our frozen spinach, and the outside of that package was from July of last year, and it was still incredibly tasty. And so by growing our own leafy greens and not buying them from the store, we're getting better vegetables, and we have as many as we need, and we don't have to deal with all those price increases in recent months. The second thing that we're not buying anymore, for the most part, are our root vegetables. Those are our sweet potatoes, our beets, our radishes. I suppose you could say that we have had to buy some onions still because we haven't grown enough of those yet. But we even stopped buying carrots. As much as our kids like carrots, we've grown enough that they can enjoy them in season, and we probably have to do a better job of growing more next season. But for the most part, by and large, we are not buying our root vegetables anymore. And root vegetables can be a huge money saver in addition to providing some incredible nutritional value. Now, we've done a ton of content here where we've focused in on some of our root vegetables. We've done a video on our onions. We've done plenty of videos on our potatoes and our sweet potatoes. And each one of those brings a different element toward our overall goal of self-sufficiency. And if we focus in on feeding our family, I would say at the forefront of all of those would be our sweet potatoes, simply because of their nutritional content. Well, that's first and foremost. I promise you, not only is the taste better, but you're also saving money. In fact, one of our commenters just pointed out that she had to go to the grocery store to buy some organic sweet potato because they ran out. And she told me that one sweet potato, a larger one, but one sweet potato was nearly $7. And in her words, she's going to be growing more sweet potatoes this year. Well, that's one of the things in 2022, though, we are no longer going to be buying. Not only are we growing our own slips from sweet potatoes we harvested last year, but there is no way we intend to spend that kind of money on something that's going to have a subpar taste and that's not going to have the nutritional value of the sweet potatoes we're bringing in from our garden. The third thing that we are no longer buying in 2022 are eggs. Now, we just did a video on this, and I highly recommend you checking out that video where we talked about reaching 365 quail eggs in just 90 days. But those numbers are increasing drastically and dramatically as the size of our covey continues to go up. Now, we are not going to spend our money on eggs that have been shipped from who knows where and have sat there at the store for who knows how long, when we can have our own organically fed quail providing us with fresh quail eggs daily. Now, I get it. There is definitely cost involved, and that's something that we're going to talk about in future videos because we want to give you a breakdown, basically an egg-by-egg cost, so that you understand what it is that we're paying out. But we made it our goal not only to grow fresh organic vegetables here, but to also add a great source of protein, one that we can make sure is manageable for our family, fits in the space that we need, and also provides us with a tangible step towards no longer being dependent on another element from the grocery store. Number 4, and this is not edible, but it does impact what we grow in our garden, and that is our worm castings. I don't know if you've gone to the store and checked out the cost of worm castings, but just a couple of pounds is really quite expensive. But worm castings are a really valuable addition to the garden. Not only do they help to improve the structure of your soil, help to improve with water retention, but according to the University of California, an analysis of earthworm castings revealed that they are rich in iron, sulfur, calcium, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and that they are much richer in nutrients than bulk compost, and therefore the application rates are much lower. Worm castings help your vegetables take in nutrients from the soil. So they provide health to the vegetables out there, and if you have vegetable waste, they provide a really nice and quick way of composting that vegetable waste as well. And on top of all that, with our 3 setups that we have now, so we have 3 worm bins, 1 that is homemade and 2 that are the worm factories that we were fortunately given from one of our community members. But with those 3 setups going, we have constant production of worm castings, constant ability to have access to worm tea, and those worms reproduce so quickly that we can take some of those worms and put it in some of our containers in our garden, etc. So we have an incredible cycle happening, and we do not plan to buy any worm castings at all in 2022. And the 5th thing we are not buying in 2022 is bottled water. Now, even if we get past the single-use plastic issue with bottled water, which is a challenge and it is not healthy for the environment, even if we get past that, what we know is the cost of bottled water is pretty immense when you compare it to the ability to drink water that is filtered, that is done from your tap. About 2 years ago, we invested in a Berkey water system. And if you've never seen the Berkey system, it's highly recommended by a lot of people who live off-grid. It's a great filtration system. And there are lots of claims on the Berkey website as to what is filtered out. And I can't tell you the science behind that. I'm not going to go into whether or not it's 100% true or not. But what I can tell you is that we take our tap water, we filter it through our Berkey, and we've been very pleased with the taste of that water. It's a simple setup, one that allows us to take a much less expensive source of water. In fact, I'll show you this. Last month, our water usage bill, and this includes all the fees surrounding water, was just over $30. And we used 840 cubic feet of water. Now, of course, that water goes to things like bathing, it goes to watering plants, etc. So it's not like it's just drinking water. But even if it was, 840 cubic feet of water is the equivalent of over 6,200 gallons of water. And that cost $30 total. Now, we don't want to waste water, but you can see the difference. Do you think you could get 6,000 gallons of bottled water for $30? I don't think so. So this is another way that we are saving money and putting in some really high quality water into our systems that allows us to just use what comes out of the tap and not have to go to the store, not be dependent on some supply there. Do you remember toward the beginning of the pandemic how difficult it was to get bottled water anyway? Because that's one of the first things people go for. Well, this removes that necessity. Now, I am confident as this moves forward, we are going to add other items to this list. This is just 5, and I know already there are others we could have included today, but we didn't for time's sake. I want you to think about this. This year, in 2022, what are some items that you are not going to buy, that you are going to produce yourself? Well, we hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.